Hey ladies, this is Mocha Mommy here bringing you another video, and I've decided to bring this video in form of a recorded StreamYard, a recorded live stream, because I feel as if in this space there's been some discussions, live streams around relationship strategy, relational strategy, or lack thereof. So I'm including in this my recent live with Cherie of Black Women Making Money. Chrissy's latest upload about the miserable stay-at-home moms of TikTok, and Samantha Cooker's recent upload about childless Black women. So I'm just going to go through just relational or relationship strategies that all three of these platforms have really been trying to drive home in for you ladies. So first, starting with the relationship strategy of being in business and dating. I really feel as if as Black women, we need to be a bit more mercenary. We really need to understand that sometimes giving someone the benefit of the doubt benefits them and not you. So I feel a lot of times we are encouraged to maybe look past certain things, or to not be so hard, or give someone the benefit of the doubt, or to not be so judgmental, because I would get that a lot. You're so judgmental. But in reality, I ended up meeting my objective by deploying those certain terms. Layla Hermosi, who I had talked about in my last live stream, she ended up meeting her objective by meeting those certain terms. Me, I made a video about it. It's called Game on Game. I'll leave it in the description box. But basically, I was newly commissioned. I got assigned to a military base that I was very fortunate. It wasn't one of those military bases that's out in the middle of nowhere. I was assigned to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas. And there was also another medical military base that was open at the time. That was Wilford Hall Medical Center on Randolph Brooks Army Air Force Base. Okay. Yeah, I think it was Wilford Hall was on Randolph Air Force Base. Yeah, I think that's right. But it's since closed. But anyway, basically, I had started talking to this guy who was not at my rank, right? He was enlisted, I was an officer, and technically, even though he had more years of service, I was the higher ranking person. And it wasn't a big deal to me, but I could tell he had an issue with it. Like, he was a stickler for it, and he would often point at my lack of experience, or my lack of, as opposed to trying to help me, it was sort of like something he would kind of poke fun at it, maybe because he was intimidated. My guess is he was intimidated and insecure about it. So again, sometimes when they're telling us to look past certain things, oh, look past the fact that you out earn him, look past the fact that you outrank him, because it really doesn't matter. It matters to the lower ranking person, trust me, especially if that person is an insecure man. So height, income, things that they say that women should overlook, understand that insecure men are going to be insecure about it, and they will pick on you about it, and they will weaponize it against you. Another thing that he weaponized against me was my lack of relationship experience, right? I'm not going to say that I was sheltered. Would just say that I had strong convictions, and I had a strong value system, and I was encouraged to enforce my boundaries. And he would never give me the official title of girlfriend, but yet monopolize a lot of my time and attention, and then pressure me to, get into things that I didn't really want to get into. So when I called him out on it, like, I don't even have a title. Like, what are you, because he was very convenient at quoting scriptures about this and that, but then seems as if when it came to like wanting to be physical, he was very quick to compromise on that. So another thing too, when a man says one thing and does another, automatic red flag. You shouldn't even explore that. Okay, so if a guy is talking about, now I'm not saying that you should be perfect, because no one's consistent 100% of the time. He said also, I was very into my wellness at the time. I was very into running because I felt that I had a chance at the All Army team, because my ROTC unit had put me in a lot of races to represent them. So I thought that I would have the same opportunity. So I was very serious about my training. He claimed that he was, but yet he really wasn't. He would stay out way too late to be up for the early morning runs. Said that, oh, I like to run in the evening, but then oftentimes was like, oh, I'm too hungry, I'm too tired. So he wasn't as consistent as he needed to be. And we all know that a lot of competitive runners do 2-a-days where they run in the morning and then have a lighter run in the evening. And he was really not doing what competitive athletes do. So again, just another thing too, that was a red flag that I ignored. After that, I stopped ignoring red flags. So immediately when I wrote down my top 6 criteria, because I could narrow it down to 5, anybody who didn't meet it, I eliminated very quickly. And I knew that with 3 military bases that were 70% male each, I knew that I didn't have to put up with it, right? I knew I didn't have to put up with anybody who didn't outrank me. There were 2 major military bases that had large medical centers. And not to mention Fort Hood was not too far away. And that also had a pretty large medical population. With the amount of dentists, chiropractors, physical therapists, pharmacists, doctors, and other people who were in the medical industry who were commissioned, there was no reason why I should have dated somebody who was below my station. There's no reason why, because the ratios favored me. Not to mention there was a really, really, really good basketball team in town. It was the San Antonio Spurs. They were phenomenal at that time. And the city was just on fire. People were always out. It was a live sports bar scene. And that's when I really started realizing my currency, being a young athlete around people who were passionate about sports. And I always had currency in those areas. So that's why during those marquee matchups, if I had a date, even if the date went poorly, I knew that I could hit a sports bar. So I made it a point to schedule, especially first dates, around game days, because then I knew that if that date didn't go well, I was still dressed up. All I had to do was touch up my makeup and hit the sports bars. So just recently, there were some ladies in our break room, right, talking about my man this and my man that and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just getting my coffee and I'm leaving. And I'm usually the one who brings the coffee and the snacks in. And so they kind of tried to include me in the conversation, like, well, what do you think? What do you think about if your boyfriend or significant other? And I said to myself, because this was the week of the season opener for the Austin FC, the Austin Football Club. Okay. They have had 37 consecutive sellout crowds. 37. That means the last season and this season, 37 consecutive sellout crowds. That meant that everybody who wanted tickets didn't get one. And there were certain spots around town that were great for viewing. And me and my husband had gone out several times during the World Cup, and people were constantly talking about that they were going to be out. And so when one of them tried to include me in the conversation, because she was not trying to be rude, because she saw that I had bought the snacks and the creamer, I said, there's no way I'm having any argument with any man when Austin FC has 37 consecutive sold out crowds. And of the women who were in the break room at the time, I think it was maybe 4 or 5, only 2 of them really picked up what I was laying down. Like, there's no way that I am going to be arguing with some man about anything at a time when the ratio favors me. That I'm just not going to do it. And I notice a lot of times too, we're kind of arguing or like saying, hey, you're wrong to think this, you're wrong to be a passport bro, you're wrong to SYSBM, you're wrong to, you know what, let him be wrong. like let him be wrong. I'm not going to argue with you about it, because it's just a lack of strategy, because every minute that you spend arguing is a minute that you're spending not getting what you want. Every minute that you spend arguing, it's messing up your personal brand, right? And so when Layla Harmozy talked about when she got on the app, if the guy didn't want to meet with her right away, she moved on. She understand that it was more like a sales strategy, because she knew that to get 30 dates, she knew she had to talk to 100 guys, right? And she said she wanted a date a month. So she'd have to talk to 100 guys to get a date a month, or one date or something like that. To get 30 dates, she had to talk to 100 guys. So basically, she understood the numbers. And if you didn't meet the criteria right away, she kept moving. And that's how she ended up who she ended up with, right? Because she kept it moving. And that's one thing you ladies have to do. You have to keep it moving. Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Because trust me, I hate to say this because I'm trying to not sound rude. I'm trying to not sound elitist. But let's just say that there is a guy that you need to circle back to because maybe he was a quote unquote nice guy. Maybe he was the right guy for you. Chances are he's not going to be swooped up by the time you get back around to him. He'll still be there. Like, think about it. I'm in my late 40s now. A lot of those guys are swooping right back around. This is one of the reasons why I don't have Facebook right now, because they'll swoop back around, trying to get all up under your health insurance. You know what I mean? Like they'll be there. You know what I mean? If I get divorced, they'll still be there. They're still over here trying to be slick. So trust me, chances are, women rarely have the one that got away type of story. Very rarely do women have those, okay? Men, yes. Women, we don't really have those type of stories because they're always available. Let's be real. With that being said, Samantha Cooker and the childless women discussion. I'm 100% in support of childless Black women. I'm 100% in support of women who want to remove themselves from the dating scene to protect their own peace. I'm 100% in support of that. What I'm not in support of is you doing this out of fear. You doing this because you're watching so much social media that you think that good men aren't out there. I'm not in support of you being childless because you don't think it'll happen for you, right? That's what I don't like. I want the decision to be out of your personal empowerment and your personal happiness and your personal peace, and not some fear that you're subconsciously feeding into. And I noticed that when I had my platform more so last year, women were constantly asking me about Asian men, and women were asking me about this and this and that, and asking me all these questions about specific things in baseball. Really, that was out of fear, because you didn't really need to know the stats. You didn't really need to know a sports breakdown. You really didn't need for me to draw a map of your city to where the Asian man. You didn't really need any of that. You just thought that it would mitigate the fear. You thought enough knowledge would mitigate the fear. But the reality is you just have to be outside. You just got to go out. Right now, we're kind of in the middle of a tournament for college basketball, right? The NCAA tournament. And 5 of the teams that made the Elite 8 had not been in the Elite 8 in, I think, over a decade, or some of the schools have never been. So this means there's a very renewed alumni crowd that's out and about and celebratory. And I just think that that's a perfect opportunity. And even if you don't know enough about basketball, this is a way for you to learn and get acclimated to the sports bar scene, to the alumni scene that's going to be renewed if you're in the area of where one of these teams are. I mean, I know that the team from Austin just got eliminated, but this is a way to get out, right? And I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on it. I'm just saying be out and just develop that skill. And also too, gauge the other women that are in these spaces, and you'll realize you ain't got a lot to be intimidated by. Any level of leveled up Black women, trust me, you ladies are competitors. I'm being honest. And I think if you were out enough, you would realize that you are very much in the running. Okay? No matter how old you are, how big you are, how wounded you think you are, trust me, Prozac Patty is out there. Trust me. I was telling you about the girls who were going to the sports bars in their pajama pants and still was getting their tabs paid just because they were out, and most women were not. So I'm just saying, ladies, like, don't make these decisions out of fear, okay? If there's something you want to do, definitely go out there and do it. Life's too short to let fear make our decisions. And that's my only concern with the childless Black women. That's my only concern with the Black women who've taken themselves out of the dating market. If you're doing it for your peace, I celebrate you. But if you're doing it out of fear, that is where my concern is. And I think a lot of us have that concern, this weird loneliness flex, when relationships are everything. They're everything when it comes to your finances. They're everything when it comes to your mental health. They're everything when it comes to your future. Relationships really can dictate the quality of life. Now, moving on to Chrissy's video. One of the reasons why my name is Mocha Mommy is because of how beneficial those relationships that I developed as a Mocha mom really did help me. I really feel that I would not have had the parenthood skills that I developed had I not been a Mocha mom. I had, technically, I classified myself as a stay-at-home mom, but I still was a reservist. So I still would drill 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and then come home to toddlers who were off routine. I left the military where we are constantly around each other. There's a strong bond of camaraderie to reservists where we all scatter to all the four winds and you don't really have those relationships. And Mocha Moms was a safe place for me to land. It really showed me how to fall back into the routine of mother again. You know, I had been to 2 wars. I had been in 2 wars, and mentally that can take a real toll on you, you know? And had I not had other women who had different experiences, who weren't constantly talking about it, who weren't focused on it, who weren't in that life, it gave me a reprieve. And even though now my oldest child, who I joined Mocha Moms for, is an adult, she's an adult, she's legally an adult, I still am so proud to have been a part of that group, and still so proud that I developed those relationships. And some of those relationships have helped me. You know, and I am so grateful that I was a Mocha Mom and I was a part of that. And that's one of the things I'm encouraging you to do. And if you do decide to be a stay-at-home mom, and I know that I do put quite a few mommy vloggers on my community tab because I support them 100%. You know, I only really stayed home for like 3 years, and I found that it really wasn't for me. And then I just went to the part-time workforce because it just felt a lot better for me, and I felt a lot better for my family. And even though my husband was like a government worker at the time, he earned pretty good money and had great benefits. I was grateful that I did go back to the workforce because there was a point in time where he was furloughed. And I was grateful that I still kept my license, that I still had, you know, like a part-time job, and I still was reserved, you know, drilling with my unit, so that I'm able to now collect a really good retirement. And I'm also able to, I was able to keep my license active and pick up a few extra hours when he was out of work for that point in time. So yeah, I'm grateful that I still kept that, even though I didn't really start getting back into the full-time workforce till my oldest one was like in high school. You know, there'd be some times where I'd pick up a full work week, but most times I didn't. I was pretty much between working part-time until my kids got a lot older. And then the pandemic threw me back into the workforce and threw me into leadership position in the workforce. That's what really accelerated that, because I was perfectly fine being a PRN or a per diem employee because I got paid really well for very few hours. It allowed me to get more education. So yeah, it just ended up being really beneficial that I built those relationships. And that's what a lot of this is about. And I think those isolated stay-at-home moms, really a mom's group would help you, because when I didn't know the area, they were the ones who told me about the per diem PRN opportunities, because they were either healthcare workers themselves or new healthcare workers, or even in the very competitive Austin real estate market. Definitely, it was the connections through the Mocha Moms that had gotten us a home before it even was listed. And this was years after being a part of that group. You know, when we decided to take our kids out of public school, we had a really good idea of where we were going to go, even long after I was a part of that group. And I will always be grateful and indebted to those women, you know, for what they've done for me and my children and my whole family. You know, my husband got a couple of other non-military golf buddies as a result, because you know how wives set up husband play dates sometime, you know, and it was just a really good opportunity. Those relational opportunities that I had. And yeah, of course it was mess. There was competition. There were things, you know, like my kid can walk and your kid can't. My kid was potty trained before your kid, and There's that stuff. But I still think that the good far outweighed the bad. And even though there were things that other stay-at-home mom groups had, elements that I didn't like, I still am grateful that I did it. And my daughters, I think, I know for a fact that my oldest daughter got potty trained because I was trying so hard. And then again, like I said, I was a reservist, and there were times when I would drill and she would get off routine. But I just remember there was a time we were at a play date and we were on a playground, and one girl says, "Oh, I have to go potty." And my daughter was like, "You know what? I have to go too." And since then, we came out of the pull-ups, we came out of the diapers that day. And because it was another kid that influenced her to do it. And, I just remember things like that, how, my youngest one, of course, they always say the youngest one grows up a little faster than the oldest. But yeah, she was able to go into preschool with a fantastic vocabulary because she was always around other kids. She understood sharing and nap time and routines because I had her around other kids. So she benefited from that too. She benefited from that relationship. And so when these men are trying to isolate these women, it's because they have a lot to hide. My husband was always very encouraging. We hosted several of the Mocha Mom meetups. He was always encouraging of it. He had his share of, when I was planning activities, he had his share of chicken nugget dinners with a fruit cup, because I didn't cook because I had planned an activity for Mocha Moms. I mean, all kinds of things. He was always supportive of that, and I'm grateful. He knew several of those kids once he started coaching Little League, and that's what got some of those moms to sign up. Like, hey, we know this guy, and that's what got some of their kids to sign up for Little League. And it was a great experience for me, and I highly encourage those relationships. And I just want to really encourage you ladies to take advantage of life. There are so many great groups and great opportunities that you don't have to spend it debating dusty rhetoric. You know what I mean? Nobody else really is. So, at this age right now, I'm realizing how many of my friends, the couple friends that we started out with, are divorced right now. Especially the Black ones, which is very sad. The Black women, it's very sad. So I don't really have to talk to them about dating out or leveling up because they see that we're still together. Like a lot of even sorority sisters who I knew talked behind my back when I did, right? Now they want to know if any of his brothers or cousins or friends are single. Like, you see what I'm saying? So I don't have to clap back. My life is the clap back. You know what I'm saying? My life is the clap back. So you know what I'm saying? I get it. So, I didn't have to like go and convince people because I'm happy with my life. And I'm not saying that it's no struggles ever. Like, one of the books I was reading, and I've told you ladies about, was dealing with difficult people. So clearly there are difficult people in my life in difficult situations. There are challenges with raising teenage girls. I mean, I must be done because I swear they must know everything already. You know what I mean? They know everything, huh? They don't need me to tell them nothing, but there are challenges, but I'm still so grateful for the life that I have. And I owe that to having those strong boundaries and having those strong relationships, and also not wasting time with people who ain't on what I'm on. I really do know that when it comes to this platform, certain ideas that you'll put out there, it may take years for them to take traction. Even I was just watching Uppity Unicorn channel. She was saying how Shira Seven's videos from 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago are now trending on TikTok. So things seeds that you plant years and years will come to fruition much later. And that's really why I'm doing this platform. Because I know for a fact what it's like to make content and to not have it resonate for years and years to come. And I'm okay with that. Because trust me, AdSense dollars is not where it's at, especially not with 2,600 subscribers. I'm grateful for every single one of you subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for sharing my videos. But I want your life to be the ultimate clapback. I don't want you to have to go look up dusty, derelict, thanks to Cynthia G for that term, dusty, derelict statistics and stuff to combat them. You don't let your life combat them. There was a difficult person who now is no longer here because I understood how to deal with them. And one of the ways I didn't deal with them was engaging. I just let them feel as if they had the freedom to be stupid. Okay? I let old dude be stupid publicly. Let him stand 10 toes down in his own stupidity. And other people handled it for me. I didn't have to go clap back. I didn't have to go, and in the military, I wish I would have had that lesson. Because so many times I was fighting against the people I was fighting for. And I realized then that you really can't help people who don't want to be helped. Right? But when people do want to be helped, they take your advice and they are grateful for it. But most people won't. Most people will just listen to it and maybe keep it in their back pocket and use it later. Maybe they will never listen to it. Like the parable of the sower, some of it gets trampled on. Some of it will sprout up quickly and then get choked out by the weeds. Some of them won't have deep roots and get fried out by the sun. But for those that take root, it'll take root in, it'll bear fruit. I think particularly, when I made that video about teenage girls and how there was this one teenage girl who had gone to our church who she was undecided. So she was a promising track runner, but gave it up to work because of difficulties that she was having. And then just decided to maybe take a couple of community college classes. I really felt that she could have run track on the next level, but she just didn't have the support system to do that. So one of the things I encouraged her to do was to work at one of the running stores. So remember when I made my realities of running video series about the shoes? She was actually the person who helped me. You know what I mean? So that story has a little bit of her in there. She was one of the ones who helped me to find the running shoe. And listen, I told her, like, hey, you ran track, you're undecided, and we're really living in a culture, especially here in Austin, where you have these young aspiring business owners, young aspiring tech gurus and CEOs who are very into that productivity culture, who like to wake up at 5 o'clock and have atomic habits and $1 million mornings and go out and run. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I think that if you're strategically vulnerable, letting them know that, yeah, I ran track, and yeah, I wish I would have gone further with it. And yes, I'm an undecided 19-year-old college student. You will be surprised how many business cards, how much advice, how much free game that these guys are giving her when she's fitting them for their $120 to $200 running shoes. She's gotten a lot of free game, and now she's going to be off to having a really, really good start in the tech industry as a result of just being strategically vulnerable. I'm an undecided 19-year-old who likes to run, and she can relay running stories, and they could, get in these charity races with these movers and shakers. She took the advice. And now I'm happy. I'm happy for her that she's found a niche in the tech, even with all these layoffs. She's still doing well. And I just want to encourage you ladies, like, you can still do well too, just because there are hardships out there doesn't mean that every single one of those hardships you have to embody, and you should not let that fear get in your way. And, baseball season's coming up, and trust me, I ain't going to be around much. You know what I mean? And it's not as if I'm single or anything like that. But if I were, interestingly enough, I know exactly where the ball is at. They are the ones who are watching the marquee matchups with these Los Angeles Dodgers, including the head physician at the facility I work at. That was one of the ways that we and him even started a relationship, because I saw him at the gas station by the job filling up with a Dodgers placard, and I was able to go back and forth with him. I know more about the Dodgers than I ever wanted to. But guess what? The head physician, the medical director at my facility, knows me by first name and can talk smack to me during this whole season. We on a first name basis, and we cool now. You know what I mean? And it's little things like that I'm always giving you game about. The young woman who I'd given game about, to tell her, like, when I had talked to her about, hey, using baseball to catch these dudes, you know what I mean? She went to Dallas. She wore what I say to wear. I said, hey, it was the Texas Rangers against the Seattle Mariners. And I told her, I said, get a tank top, a good push-up bra, some shorty shorts, and an oversized Ken Griffey throwback. Trust me, you will have no problem in that place. She's engaged now, y'all. Like, you see what I'm saying? Take the advice. Take the advice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just be confident to get out there, because you'll realize that, it just takes getting out there. It just takes building those relationships, because you can do it. You can do it. You're capable. You're strong enough. You're beautiful enough. You are enough. Okay. You are enough. And even if you're just on the pathway to being the woman you really want to be, trust me, there's encouragement out there. You don't have to constantly keep defending yourself and defending your decisions, and even when adversity strikes, trust me, your allies will come to that, because problematic people rarely live in a vacuum, right? Usually problematic people are problematic on several different levels. Usually when you hear about the guy at the work job who's getting a divorce, usually he's an asshole to more than one coworker. I'm just saying, it's like when you find out his girlfriend broke up with him or his wife is leaving, it's usually not a surprise, right? Because his problematic behavior rarely exists in a vacuum. But yet successful and courteous people, people who are courteous, like the young lady I was talking about at the running shoe store. He's also a really, really great boss. Not only was he a courteous customer, he's a great boss. And I'm sure he's a great, friend and a great, you know what I mean? Because very rarely does problematic behavior exist in a vacuum. And so this is why you should be comfortable going after successful men, because usually that ambition is transferable. My spouse is an ambitious guy. So he's ambitious in his job, but he's also ambitious as a dad and a coach. He's also ambitious when it comes to home repairs, a little bit cheap and stingy, which is one of the reasons why he does so many of them. Let's be real. You know what I mean? He'll buy top shelf liquor. He'll buy the nicest cigars, but trust me, he does not want to pay Jiffy Lube for the oil change. But again, that's marriage. And it's really interesting too, like when we're talking about marriage, especially this long in it, having kids that are grown, almost grown, figuring out if we still like each other. That's been a journey. Trust me, that's been a journey. And I'm grateful that I'm on this journey with him, because I'm telling you, I can honestly say that after all of this, I still like him, especially this time of year, especially if my team do better than his team. I'm playing, but no, I remember last year when they were having the lockout of the baseball players and the season started a little late. I'm like, we got grown kids. There's no baseball. We ain't gonna make it. No, I'm kidding. But it was just like, I'm grateful that we still like each other. We still get along. It's still a good, fun relationship. We're doing a lot of things that we used to do before we had kids. So it's almost like we picked up where we left off. And those relationships are still out there. Those men are still out there. And I was just talking to a coworker today about there's a show called Homestead Rescue, and I've been really into it, and I was telling my husband, because he's a project manager for like a cybersecurity team. They like customize cybersecurity solutions for people. And he has a couple of programmers who during the quarantine, because land was cheap and they were so fascinated by these low prices, decided that they were going to go buy these swaths of land. Minutes from Austin. Yeah, 75 minutes from Austin. You know what I mean? Like, and they bought all this acreage out in the middle of nowhere. And I was, the running joke now is like, oh, there's your programmers. Maybe there's about 2 or 3 of your programmers. They need a homestead rescue because they're out here on all this land and they have wells and, solar panels, off-grid solar panels and, driveways that are acres and acres long and, fields that they're responsible for. These single guys from Northern California out in this Texas wilderness got coyotes on their property. And I'm telling you, it's hilarious. And they're all single too. And that's the funniest thing, living in these way in the middle of the woods. And it's funny, but they got acreage though. They got acreage. It's just in the middle of nowhere, like had frozen pipes and a well and Oh man, oh gosh, the stories, Lord of mercy. Like, paying all this crazy amount of money for internet because they were out in the middle of nowhere. You need like satellite internet with a direct, with oh my God. Oh, it's funny. It's hilarious. These guys out in the country. But anyway, I digress. I'm just trying to say, ladies, that great opportunity is still out there. Don't let fear get in your way. And don't argue with, child, reclaim your time. You don't need to be arguing with these passport bros, because trust me, if you were out during the World Cup and now this European Cup, you'll realize that in most of these countries, the money is over here. Those people with money, they left. They like, oh no, you know what I mean? This recession is global. And trust me, even though the United States banks got issues, the banks in Venezuela and Dominican Republic and Mexico and parts of South and Central America, they ain't got no FDIC. They ain't got no government bailouts. So they took their money out and they packed up and they over here. And one of the easiest visas to get, ladies, is a student visa. Do you realize that like 54% of all student visas go to men? And do you realize that I think it's like 60% of those working visas, those HN, whatever, I don't even know what they're called. But anyway, those working visas, like over 60% of them go to men. So ladies, they out here with jobs. Let them get their passport and you get the ones with the jobs and the good education, okay? So I'm just saying, ladies, opportunities out there, and you can have a really great life. You don't need to worry about, pearly things and passport bros and, lonely stay-at-home moms at TikTok when there's support out there for you if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom. And let's be honest, most of these stay-at-home moms are momtrepreneurs anyway. They got some kind of side hustle going on. They might be staying home with their kids, but they have a CPA and they're doing taxes and probably make more between January 1st and April 15th than that most of us who go to work every day see all year. So let's be real. Like, a lot of these quote unquote stay-at-home moms got a whole W-2. Okay. I mean, really, they got a whole, you know what I mean? They running businesses out the house. Listen, go to the UPS store or the post office in the middle of the day and see how many women you see with packages pushing strollers, with trying to get certified mail sent because they running businesses out their house. Stamps.com is a real thing. Those ship stations are a real thing. A lot of these stay-at-home moms is generating incomes. Don't be fooled for 1 minute that they're not, even if their husbands make six figures, even if their husbands are quote unquote high value men. Trust me, these women are out here making this money. These mocha moms out here making these money. These international mom clubs, these moms out here making this money. They getting whole degrees, working from home, making all kinds. Trust me. So you can always make security for yourself. Okay. Starting catering companies and businesses, baking cakes, sewing, turning their garages into salons, doing personal training sessions and mommy and me workouts. Trust me, these women have lots of game and they have opportunity. And so do you. So this is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you in the next video.